Hello, it's Steven from Homes by Sun at Remax. Hope everyone had a great Easter long weekend. Got some time to relax with the family. Now, before the long weekend, we had some announcement from the federal government with some in their 2022 budget with some new initiative that they're going to implement, and maybe not all of it, but some of it will definitely be in the works. It will be coming down. So I wanted to today take this time not only to talk about the real estate market for the week just passed, April 9th to the 15th, but also discuss a little bit about the budget, give you my opinion. It's going to be a two-part series. Otherwise, this video will be way too long. So today I'll talk about 2 points. And then next week, I'll talk about another couple of points to give you my summary of where I think these changes are going to change, how they're going to change the market, if they're going to have any impact at all. So let me just first share my screen, show you, let's talk about the market last week, the real estate market last week. So we have the chart that we've been looking at since beginning of this year. And number 15 is the one that, oh, let me just get this. So number 15 is the week that just passed. And that's what we are talking about. So this line here. As I was predicting before, a lot of listings actually couldn't sell, and so they relisted the week before. It was sort of right after a week after March break, and then many of them still couldn't sell for the price that they wanted, and so a lot of seller pulled their listing off the market, and that's why we saw a decrease, almost 30% decrease in the number of listings since the week before. And this is what we're also seeing in the market, is that a lot of listings are not getting the action that they were hoping for. They set an offer day and nothing came about, or didn't get they did get offered, but not the price that they were hoping to get. And so now they're off the market. Will they come back? For sure. Some of them are going to come back later on in April. The change in the interest rate and also the just announced housing budget has quite a bit of impact psychologically to the market. A lot of buyers are pausing right now, or aren't going in. If they are bidding, they aren't going in as strong as before, partly because either they also have a home they need to sell, either home or condo, and that's maybe a quieter as well, or that they are worried that they might overpay a few months down the road, prices correct a little bit more, and they end up maybe having difficulties with their financing. In any case, unless buyers have a lot of cash right now, or they don't need to borrow as much for their new home, otherwise they will be a lot more conservative. So the previous week, we saw a decrease in the number of new listings, and also the number of transaction kind of went down a little bit more, 1100 transaction in the GTA area. If we look at the percentage sold over asking, so this is the one that shows you how strong the market is. It's still somewhat strong, but definitely way down from where we had. I think the height was 87%. So back in February, maybe even to early March, we still were looking at almost 90% of the listings that were transacted had multiple offers or resulted in multiple offers and sold. This past week, it's dropped down to 68%. So that tells you that the ones that are selling, they are selling because they have relisted at a proper price, at a realistic market price. And oh, not now, don't want to restart now. And so that's the reason why they are transacting. People, buyer now that see that, okay, this is what the seller actually want, and they're going in and making a proper offer, doing it the normal way. And if we look at prices, it actually hasn't really gone down much, even though the number of transactions has gone down here. The prices have not gone down as much. So just to give you an idea, this is beginning of March here. This is current week. The difference between this here and this here is only 8%. It's around 8%. So hasn't been that much of a drop, but still it is noticeable. We are noticing less traffic booking even on our own listings, but the buyers that actually place bids are quite strong. They're quite serious. Like I said last week, we got rid of all the tire kickers or all the investors who are trying to buy something for cheap. Now, there are still quite a bit of good deals to be had. If you are an investor, you're not too picky about where you want to park your money. You just want something in a good location. Can be a little bit more rundown. We are seeing a lot of more places that go for a good price, may need work, but buyers are able to negotiate a much better price than maybe a month or two ago. So keep that in mind. If you're an investor, you want to maybe buy a townhouse for investment. There are a lot of townhouses for sale right now. They're getting good rental money because the rental market is still, it's never really gone down. Since COVID, it's been pretty stable and it will only get better. So rental market is doing okay, and a lot of investors are moving their money from condos maybe into a townhouse. So let's take a look at the 416 area high rise and townhouse. So these are the condo townhouse. They do mimic the activity of the freehold market. So again, we saw a decrease in the number of listings that came out. It was over 1,000 before, now it's 823 previous week. Number of transaction 377 also went down. Like I said, traffic in the condo side has definitely died down. Back in January, February, one bedroom were going for high 800, 900. That's no more. Now they're probably back to high 600, maybe low 700. The number of transactions, so over asking, I think we peaked at 80%. Now we're down to 70%. So condos are still selling through multiple offers. It really depends how low it's listed for. But price-wise, interestingly enough, prices haven't gone down. Now this price, it could also attribute it to the fact that more high-end condos are now selling than the middle tier. So we have ones that are selling around 700K, 800K, and then we have ones going for 2-3 million. Those ones are moving because those buyers are either overseas buyer who sold their property there, don't want to have a detached home and still want the condo lifestyle. They're the ones buying, or we have a lot of downsizer. People who are selling their detached home for $4, $5, $6 million now coming in and buying condos. They're around $2-3 million range to retire into. So we're seeing a lot of that as well. So condo side, stable. I wouldn't say it's a really hot. It's more stable than before. Definitely not rising as fast as maybe a couple months ago. Transaction is down, but also listing is down. So it's keeping in pace. What my prediction is for the next maybe a month or so is that people are going to digest a lot of the news, a lot of the rate changes. and they're going to try to come up with other ways to get back into the market. There are people that really need to move, need to buy a place, but we may see a shrinkage of the investor market. They may shy away from buying a property right now if they're more conservative. But like I said before, the ones that actually make money buy when no one else is buying. So if everyone is buying, you shouldn't buy. But I'm talking about if you're an investor, but if no one else is buying, you should get in and take this opportunity to upgrade your investment property. So if you have a condo, sell it, move into maybe a townhouse. If you have a townhouse, maybe sell it and move into a bigger townhouse, maybe a two-car garage or a smaller detached home. I think those will continue to see price appreciation when the market picks up again. We still have a lot of immigration coming. So housing is not going to drop, but it might be a slight pause for now. All right, having said that, let's take a quick look at the housing initiative from the federal budget update. I'm going to take 2 points, and the first one we're going to look at is the first home savings account. Now, what this is, it's similar to an RRSP account, but you get the benefit of a TFSA. So to summarize, you get to put in, once you hit 18 years old, you can put into a savings account $8,000 per year and save up put that towards buying your first home. Your first home could be any price, but the max that you can save in this account is $40,000. But if you don't contribute $8,000, the room doesn't get added onto the year after. It will just take you longer to get to 40,000. The benefits are that it's tax deductible, so you can deduct it. If you have income, you can deduct it. When you withdraw, there's no tax on it, so you don't have to. It's not an income like RSP. You have to pay tax on when you're on withdrawal, and also that there's no repayment requirement once you draw out to buy. The only thing is it only applies once in your lifetime, so you can only save it and buy your first home with it. So what do I think about this first home savings account? I think the immediate impact will be very minimal. The fact that it takes a while for people to save up to $40,000. So if you put in $8,000 a year, it will take you 5 years. So because this program starts in 2023, the earliest anyone can come up with $40,000 is going to be 2028. That is, if you're very diligent, every year you put in $8,000, it will still take you, 5 years to save that. Now, in 5 years, I don't know where the market is going to be, but if we look back 5 years ago, prices have gone up a lot in the 5 years. And even if prices doesn't go up that much, right? The property value today is easily $1 million plus or minus. So $40,000, it's not even 5%. It may help a bit, but I don't really see a big impact in helping people because now you're asking them to delay their moving plan for 5 years. In that 5 years, they would have had to pay rent or they would have had to have other expenses that's eating into their savings. So I think the government should have allowed for a lot higher threshold for this to work and allow people to do maybe shorten it into like 2-3 years. That makes more sense, but 5 years it's a long horizon for a lot of things could be changed. We could have a whole new government, and immigration policy and all that changes, and so it really is going to have a big effect on the overall market. But right now, I think 40,000 it's okay, but it's not really going to help a lot in 6 years. All right, so the second one is the proposed home buyers bill of right. So what this is the federal government trying to impose different policy to control how the real estate market works and how the lending market also works to try to, one, make it more transparent, two, make it harder for bad actors to take advantage of people. And so the policy that they came up with is, number one, a ban on blind bidding. So, and in the industry, we like to call it undisclosed bidding instead of blind bidding, because it's not really blind. You do know, sort of know how many people are in, and you get a feel for how strong the competitions are. But if they do ban it, which I don't think they will, they should, because I think sellers should always have options of how they want to sell the home, and also depends on which side of the table you're sitting at. Buyers don't like this, but sellers, majority of them prefer the closed bidding, the undisclosed bidding over open bidding. But it also depends on what type of property. So it doesn't work for everything. So if you have a property that may be less desirable, but in a good location, then open bidding might be more suitable. But if you have a really nice property in a good location, then you want to do a closed blind bidding, because you could end up with, first place and second place could be thousands of dollars apart. And it's just supply and demand. Somebody really wants it, willing to pay for it. Why are we not letting them do it, right? If you're the seller, they have every right to get as much money out of their property as they want. Just like anything that they own, somebody willing to pay a lot of money for it, they should be allowed to get that money. So I don't understand why the government wants to control this, other than the fact that they have a lot of lobbying group, behind the buyers that trying to say, hey, prices are too high. We need to control it. Listen, blind bidding is still allowed right now, but with the interest rate increase, with other policy, the market has already cooled down. So I don't see the way a property is sold has that much impact on the pricing. People still need to be able to close the deal no matter what they bid on. So it all has to more to do with supply and demand rather than how the sale was conducted. Even open bidding, a buyer seeing the second buyer at that price, and they can still go stronger, and we will just have endless amount of rounds until we arrive at what essentially the same thing as a blind bidding price. Because the problem is supply and demand of real estate, not how real estate are sold. So second proposed change is legal right to home inspection. This one I do support. We've had a lot of showings into properties that are very questionable. I will walk in and tell my client, I don't think this property is very well built or has issues. Let's walk away. In a heated seller's market, what I saw was a lot of questionable properties were able to change hands without in-home inspection, without any accountability from the seller. So this one I will completely agree. I think it's a good direction. Sellers should disclose any issues, any concerns that they may have, or anything that they know but they don't, they try to cover up. They don't tell even their own agent, never bother to fix it. I think those should be stopped, but I don't think they should stop how properties are sold. So number 3 is increased transparency for previous sales price of properties. Again, I support this 100%. I think the current system of, it's still somewhat public, but you have to jump through some hoops to try to get at what a property sold years back. But to be honest, how much property sold years ago doesn't really have any impact on what it should sell today, especially if it's, even a year ago, because the market changed so fast. So I can also see that by opening up what the sale price of properties publicly, it can have a negative effect if somebody had other intentions of why they want to find out what particular person bought the property for. So this one, I think, good to have transparency, but also needs to have some safeguard in place so that maybe perhaps only certain people have access to it, or you need to create a login password, that sort of things to control who has access to that data. The fourth one is rights to know when agents are representing both sides. This one I'm not understanding, because right now we have to disclose anyways. So if my company is Remax Realtron, if we represent both buyer and seller, we're disclosing. But I think what this policy is saying is particular agents, they have to disclose themselves, because right now only the brokerage needs to disclose. We always disclose. We always tell buyers or seller who is, who we're representing. So I don't see any difference in the way we conduct our business. Publicly available beneficial owner registry by 2025. This one is to prevent corporations from holding properties and not disclosing who is the actual beneficiary owner behind it. This one I support. I think it's good to know that who is the actual ultimate owner. Require lender to offer mortgage deferral. So this policy is kind of really hard to implement. So what they want to do is let the mortgage company allow their mortgagees, the borrowers, to defer the mortgage when there's a significant life event. So they haven't given a clear definition of what is significant life event. It could be a wedding, it could be a divorce, could it be like sickness, could it be loss of job, but how sick do you need to be? Can you, does COVID count? Let's say you get a COVID, you can't go to work. Does that count, right? And so that's kind of open for abuse. So this one, I'm not in the mortgage industry, so I'll let the mortgage industry deal with this one, but there is a policy coming down that lenders have to offer mortgage deferral. Stopping renoviction by deferring above normal rent increases. So this one, what they're trying to do is prevent investors, landlord, from kicking out the tenant and saying that they need to renovate the place and then jack up the rent. This one I do support, but as someone that manages properties, it is already a lot of laws and rules that are protecting the tenants. There are very little protection for landlord. So on the flip side of this is, what if the tenant does cause a lot of damages, property damages, and so you have to go through the motion of trying to kick them out. But if they're still paying the rent, they're just not very clean people, or they are not very careful. You do want to renovate the place, but you can't. So there are a lot of ways that this particular policy can be improved in a way that it eliminates bad landlords but don't punish good landlords. So my thoughts on these are, a lot of these are great, much needed initiative. However, I think what they propose, or from what I read, the summary of these rule changes haven't been thought through a lot, and so they need to be more careful when they're implementing these and not to create further problems. But I don't think any of these is going to help with the housing prices, because opening up ownership and all that's just the legal side of things. And with the home inspection, it could go both ways. You could have some properties with no one wants to buy them, but then if a property is good location, well built, great home inspection, everything, it might even sell for more money than before. So it's a double-edged sword. We used to do a lot of pre-listing home inspection as well. Right now we don't do any, because there are liabilities in play. There are liability concern for the seller. Maybe the house is perfect according to them, but inspector finds something. Now they have to disclose it, and it's not something that can be easily remedied. So the current law is, buyer beware. Buyer is supposed to do their own due diligence. So this is a double-edged sword, and that is the only one I think might have some changes, impact on the price. So that's my comment for this week. Hope that is useful to you. Stay tuned for next week when I review a little bit more about the federal budget. What are some of the changes that are coming down, including the assignment, HST on assignment. I think that's another topic that's going to take up some time. And so that's why I'm breaking it up into two videos. Again, it's Steven Sun at Homes by Sun with Remax. Thank you so much for watching. I got a lot of comments. People are actually appreciative of these videos, so I'm also appreciative of you guys spending your time here. And if you have any questions, my email is below on every video, so send me an email or shoot me a text, and I will try to answer your question. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you next week. Take care. Bye for now.